Moving ahead, we have our very first panel discussion, which has some of the top leaders of the information technology domain. These decision makers are bringing in the change with their knowledge and work every day. The panel discussion topic is cybersecurity with centralized security measures for cloud users and platforms. And it's an absolute honor for me to introduce our well-renowned panelists. First up, we have Mr. Adel Al Housani. He is the CISO at Dubai Customs. Our second eminent panelist is Ms. Hala ElGhawi. She is the Business Information and Cybersecurity Manager MENAP at Standard Chartered Bank. Our third eminent panelist is Mr. Hamad Abdulrahman. He is the Director of ICT at King Hamad University Hospital. Our fourth eminent panelist is Mr. Anthony Samir. He is the Head of Cybersecurity Unit at Ministry of Health and Population. Our last eminent panelist is Mr. Abdulrahman Almazroua. He is the Cybersecurity Leader. And not to forget our eminent panel moderator, Mr. John Morton. He is the advisor on a number of national projects for the countries such as Qatar, UK, US, and China. All the best panelists, and over to you, John, to moderate your panel.
Thank you, Bridget, for that wonderful introduction and the introduction to our esteemed panelists. I'd like to just get started by asking Hamad, perhaps you could help us set the scene and the context for this panel. Can you perhaps give our audience an understanding of what is cloud security and how that might differ from our current thinking, and how important is it?
Thank you, John, and hello to my esteemed panelists. Well, basically, I'd like to take that question and dissect it into two parts. So let's take the first part. What's cloud security? Cloud security is the collective of cybersecurity best practices, standards, and technologies within the cloud to achieve a CIA conformance, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, why is it important? Why is it considered to be a subject by itself? Because for the first time, we have our data hosted in another platform that is outside, not only physically, but even geographically of our organization itself. So this is where things get sketchy. Where do our roles and responsibilities start and end as the heads of cybersecurity in our organization to ensure the integrity of our data? Of course, cloud is not a silver bullet. We have to consider aspects that are with the applications that are hosted on the cloud, with the data that are hosted on the cloud. It also comes to what kind of attacks that are generating and emerging with regards to the cyberspace. Basically, we can see transformation with the malware. So we have cloud-based malware, we have cloud-based attacks, we have appliances that are tailored for ensuring cybersecurity within the cloud. I think that summarizes basically why is cybersecurity within the cloud such a deep field and matter to be considered separate from most of the cybersecurity implementations currently.
Okay, Anthony, for those of our audience who may be considering making the move to cloud, what are the challenges and changes that they need to look at, and what security risks should they be considering?
Hi, John. Hi, everyone. Moving from the on-premise to the cloud, which is happening now enormously, especially after the pandemic, is having many risks which we shall consider before moving. And which we have to think before taking this decision or starting to choose which vendor we are moving or which cloud solution we have to. First thing we have to think in ourselves with ourselves. Is there are a compatibility between our current architecture and the cloud architecture which we are moving to? Because many issues appear due to these differences. At the same time, the risk factors from is my employees and my experts have the experiences which can make this move. This all risks that we have to be considered before we take the decision. Of course, while we are talking about migration, we have to think about the data itself, how it will be moved, which cloud platform is best, and what's the solution is to upload our data, because many risks happen affect data losses. Another thing we have to consider also, not depending on a single vendor to get out from vendor monopoly, or when there are something like exploitation in certain vendor, this can cause many and happen many issues because of this. We have also to understand that when we are moving to the cloud, it's a different platform than what we are used to when we are on premise. Now we are in cloud, you can happen DDoS attack. We see many times the DDoS attack happen, and huge, especially after the pandemic, which can disable the service in the country, disable the service for a certain vendor. This all have to be considered and have to be planned with a backup plan before we are targeting moving to the cloud, and we have to have our plan cleared, and even the backup plan have to be also cleared before we're taking this step.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for sharing your expertise there, Anthony.
Thank you.
Moving on, Adu, protecting information and data is of ultimate importance in any cloud environment. How do we ensure secure data in the cloud? And from your expertise, what are the possible threats in cloud security to data?
Okay, so for the security, about the security cloud as a new technology. For a new technology, it will bring its own risks. So many of the risks, you can say, are already there. Like, for example, patching. Cloud also could also meet some existing security risks. So a cloud by itself doesn't mean it is bad idea or it is insecure. No, if we implement it very well, we can get better security than that we have right now. So like any other things, internet, when internet came to the to live and people start doing it, before internet, everyone was doing his own data center isolated, but they have been forced to come to adopt internet so they can adopt a new technology for their own business. Now for cloud as well, we have to think, as I said, for how can we adopt cloud without affecting security? There are a lot of concepts, like today. One of them is called SASE. It's called Secure Access Service. Gartner coined this in August 2019, which means that the basic idea for this, for me, I think this is a concept. It's not a product that you will purchase. It is not like a firewall, or it is not like a secure gateway. No, it's a concept. How do you build your infrastructure? Before cloud, even before pandemic, people are coming to the office to do their job. Now, after pandemic, we force people again to connect to our data center through VPN or MPLS maybe, and from our data center, we will send them out to the cloud. If we are using cloud, let us say MS Teams or Zoom. Okay, why now I have to bring these people to my data center? Because I have all of my security stack on my data center. Now the SASE model is opposite. I'm delivering security to the end users. I want them to be secure. So I have to ensure two things: the network that they have connectivity to avoid to avoid slowness, for example, to get their availability, and number two, security. Now, when you combine or union this security with the network, you will come with this solution. For example, you will try first to, and this is the concept called don't trust, always verify. So first I have to verify the device that he's connecting to or from, and the person, I have to verify him. By implementing this idea, I will not bring him to my data center. I will put my security on the edge, on his edge, on the cloud edge. And many of other also components within service CASB, it's called the Cloud Access Control, I guess, like this one. So by this one, CASB itself will confirm many things like compliance. It will confirm DLP also. It will check the access, the authority, the authentication or the authorization. So when a cloud comes, many other companies build the security. So in my opinion, we have to check this one to ensure, and we have to encourage. For me personally, though I am security, many of my colleagues, they don't encourage cloud, but for me, I encourage to go to cloud because the cloud will fix the basic maybe issue. I guess everyone is facing a legacy system, and when you want to patch system, you will maybe spend ages to go and confirm. But on the cloud, they will take care of this one. Again, other security challenges will come, but we can fix them and implement these security measures so we can empower. This is the idea for security. We are empowering business.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Abdulrahman, there have been so many new thinking and innovations within cloud security.
Abdulrahman.
Sorry, Abdulrahman.
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 Yeah.
Can you tell us about Secure Access Service Edge and how it could contribute and benefit to cloud security?
Here we are talking about transformation, and one of the main point we need to talk about the cloud security. This is many important of this cloud security. One of them, this is what you are looking for in the organization: reduced cost, by eliminates the need investment, dedicated hardware, and also cloud security deliver proactive security features 24/7 with a human without human intervention. Secondly, we are talking about increase the reliability. The full cloud benefit with full protection and security will provide us better service more than IT traditional infrastructure. In addition, we ensure through the cloud the compliance requirements are met to ensure the continued reliability of the service. Finally, we need to do the same what we are doing in the SOC, the centralized security, centralized protection. We can to choose one cloud hosting to comply this measurement and also enhance traffic analysts and filtering through this hosting. In addition, it's easy to build the disaster recovery plan for this centralized processes. In addition, as you know, this is a cloud security. You have many threats, but we can contain this number or mitigate this of risk by to use the cloud and choose the right vendor with the main point in the security. This is without any trust by the people or technology. We need to keep the monitor by the cloud services. With the ensure security data in the cloud.
So it sounds as though this new innovation is sort of completely rethought the evolutionary approach that we've taken in the past to edge computing and security and put a more holistic framework together. Is that your reading?
Yes, yeah. This is what you are mentioning exactly. Now the security should be start from the design level. If you are talking about the cloud, we need to build through the design, the security, how to secure the data, the plan. Also, when we are sharing the plan, the document, we need to also minimize the leakage of the data through this brainstorming club. How to choose the technology, how to select the technology, how to choose the vendor. All this umbrella, with the security, you provide us better solution, high availability and reliability, more confidentiality and integrity. This is what we are focusing on all the time in the cybersecurity.
That sounds really good, Abdulrahman, because that means that you're building security by design, and also, from what you said, privacy by design around data into the solution in a more modern framework. Which brings us on to Hala. We've heard about the threats and challenges to cloud security. From your deep experience, what countermeasures can organizations take to implement and mitigate what we were hearing about, data leakage in the hybrid cloud?
Okay. Thanks, John, and thanks for having me today in this event. As of the data leakage in the hybrid cloud, data leakage is considered one of the common risks in the hybrid cloud. Why? Because the end users and point, they are connected to the cloud through the internet. Okay, so they are exposed to a data leakage, man-in-the-middle attack. Sometimes this risk, it's due to human error or unauthorized access, as I mentioned, from the man-in-the-middle attacks. Some of countermeasures that can be implemented in order to protect from the data leakage is, first of all, we need to work on the information classifications or the data classification, which is very important to identify your critical data and how to, let's say, protect it. Like if you are using a critical data, are you going to put it on the public cloud or the private cloud? And from here, we are talking about, let's say, the hybrid cloud. And then you need this data classification in order to have a better data leakage prevention tool that can protect from the data leakage. So the first thing is to have the data classification, and you need to have a standard for the data classifications. All employees or users, they need to be aware about the data classification and use or classify the data appropriately according to the standard. The second thing, you need to utilize data leakage prevention tools, which can help you to protect from unauthorized exfiltration of sensitive data. This is very important. Also to use a private connection or private line or VPN to connect to the cloud. This is very important, and some of security practitioners, they are reliant on the cloud provider security without taking into consideration that it needs to be protected when you connect to that data. Encryption also, it's very important. You need to use strong protocols to protect the data in a transmission, like you need to use TLS 1.2 or above, and you need to use the SSH. These things, it's very important to protect the data.
There's so many powerful points there, because as you move to digital transformation, both in government and within organizations, you've got so many connections that you're trying to bring together, the extended supply chain and how you're going to work with your partners. So making sure you've got data leakage controlled and managed, very important. So Hamad, thinking more broadly about cloud security, what do you believe are the key consideration our delegates should be thinking about and considering when building a cyber resilient system?
Okay, so well, building up on what my colleague just mentioned earlier, you should focus on, I would say, 3 key categories. First, the cloud management. Second, the application, and third, the data. So let's start with the cloud management. Are you having a secure connection from your clients, or let's just say from administrators, to the cloud management console? Is it being controlled? Second, are you using MFA? People kind of misuse MFA with 2-factor authentication. You have to have different layers. For instance, let's take the UEBA, which is basically user entity behavior analytics. Is the administrators logging in at a normal timing? Is there an anomaly in behavior itself? Now, again, Dr. Jassim mentioned earlier, are we using AI to detect any behavior that could look malicious? Is the administrator encrypting all the data that is stored on the cloud? These safeguards should be in place to control the cloud management to start with. Now, the second aspect, which is the application part, there is no patching for bad code. That I think we all agree on that. If you have a proper code that is well established with DevSecOps to start from the very beginning, then your application is quite resilient for that. But that is not a complete safeguard to migrate to the cloud. The code can work quite well in the test environment, can work in on-prem, but once you migrate to the cloud, you have to cater to that. So there might be vulnerabilities that only will arise once you start migrating to the cloud. And finally, the data. How are you securing the data on rest? Is it encrypted? Is it masked? Is it controlled? Let's consider the second aspect of data. When the data is in use, what kind of privileges or control are you giving with regards to use of data? Are the users allowed to go to the data itself? Are certain applications allowed to go to the data itself? Now, again, once that 2 aspects are configured for data, you have to look into the motion of data. When you transfer the data from, say, from cloud to prem to application or to another cloud service provider. So is it encrypted? Is it going through a proper security channel? Is it going through a proper VPN? Now, all these 3 aspects have to work in sync to ensure a proper cloud resilient system and to ensure that your systems are running at optimum.
Thank you. And thank you for breaking it down into a nice, simple 3-step process. Abdulrahman, over the last few years, governments have introduced a range of different regulations to safeguard citizens, promote business, and to make cloud a safe place. What are your opinions and thoughts on cloud legal and regulatory environment? And specifically, how certain or uncertain is that environment? Have we lost you?
Mr. Abdulrahman?
Okay. Well, perhaps he'll join us in a minute. Halal, can I come back? Oh.
To say that the drill is now finished.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I'm sorry, we have...
Okay. So Abdulrahman, over the last few years, governments have introduced a range of different regulations to safeguard citizens, promote business, and to make cloud a safe place. What, in your opinions, and what thoughts do you have on the cloud legal and regulatory environment?
This is a really complex answer. if you ask me, I think many times how to help each organization industrial about when we are build the cybersecurity control. I think, from my opinion, we need to build the security baseline for all the organization. Plus, we need to build dedicated the baseline for each function. If you talk about the healthcare, now we are talking about the patient safety. If you are talking about the industrial, we are talking about the cost and economic impact. All this measurement we need to be considered when you are think about the cybersecurity. And here, just I need to sharing with you some example. This is happen in healthcare because this is what I'm focusing on. I'm working in this time. And then the last September 2020, as I remember the states, the first patient death, the reason of the cyber attack. Now we are not talking about the cybersecurity to protect data or protect computer or infrastructure. Now we are talking about the patient safety. How to control that with Internet of Medical of Things, how to consider the cybersecurity from this globalization, than what's happened now, everything in the cloud, sharing information. We cannot stop to think about the controls, but we need to focus about one important thing: this awareness. We need to build the awareness for the all candidates of the services. Now we are talking about we can mention about knowledge management, how to educate it, the all using the technology. 95% of the cyber attack, this is because abnormal attitudes of the people. This part you need to focus on to increase the level of awareness of the all the employees, and also the family itself. Now we need to increase the level of awareness. My children now can guide me how to deal with the cloud service more than what I know. Because of that, we need to consolidate all this point when you are build our cybersecurity control. One thing more I need to mention here: the same what we are dealing about the army. We have to cooperate together as a countries. The same, they have the same goal. Now we can to start attack to impact the service. The same if you are told we have start the warring between two countries. This is what I can to answer. This is not easy question, and this is my opinion. I added in my answer.
Thank you, and thank you very much for sharing that. I think what we've done is...
Can I add something here, please?
Of course.
Yeah, actually, this is, as my colleague said, is not an easy question, because here we are talking about countries like dealing with each other, and sometimes we'll reach to that very high, maybe very big issues, because you have to know. First, about this one, maybe now many countries has its own regulation regarding, maybe not specifically for cloud. Some countries they have cloud, and some countries they don't have that, but they include as a cyber security or their cyber, maybe cyber general. Now, first is about the data location. Is it allowed for us, for example, to take the data outside? Many governments, they don't allow it. For example, in Dubai, we have information security regulation, and domain 13 about the cloud, they have, you should not host critical data outside. And if you want to host it outside, you have to follow a specific process. Even many of big companies also, they are building their data center on the country to have a business, because they know if they are not building their data center, they will not get a business. Now, number two, the ownership of the data, because if I move now my data to this organization, mostly private, maybe sector, they will own my data or no, it will be my ownership. We have to agree on this one. Number three, about maybe the announcement, if something happened, if data breach happened, maybe some country, they don't prefer to announce. While if they are hosting their data on that country, the law said you have to announce it. For example, HIPAA on US, they force also to announce any breaches happens to the health. So it's not easy because it's a cross boundary, you know, cloud is cross boundary. That's why maybe it's very highly recommended for company to hire a lawyer, not only for the government, but even for the private sector to check before even signing the contracts, what will be the agreements, which law is going to implement it here if something happened. So this is very important. This maybe not a technical, but because now most of that it will be in the cloud, and it is very important to know what is your rights and what is your obligations. Is it criminal or just civil maybe issue if this happens for you? So, and it's recommended also to read the law very well for the country. If you are operating in a new country, if you are private sector and you are going there, you have to be very careful. You should not just be happy that you got the business. You have to read and understand the laws because in case something happens, you have to be prepared to deal with it.
You're totally right. Switzerland and a few other countries have the same sort of cloud services that are in place where they don't share data outside. And coming back to, I think, Hamad's point about backups and recoveries, making sure that your off-site, which usually is in a different country, is in one of the countries that you're allowed to actually have the data, or that you responsibly say that you're having that data in that country.
May I also build on something? It also the form of the data. Is it, if it's encrypted, it's no longer the data itself, or say you anonymize the data or certain aspect with regards to healthcare. Let's just say for radiology. So if you are allowed to share, say, your resources online, if it's anonymous, you are, that gives you kind of a barrier with regards to the legal aspect of it. As Mr. Adel just mentioned, the legal aspect is quite adamant and should be quite considered with cloud transformation.
Thank you for that. And in fact, Bridget's just prompted that we've got a question from our delegates. So Hamad Mohammed asked how cloud services are enhancing patient care, and is directing that to you, Hamad.
Well, we can see a lot of need for cross healthcare providers data sharing. So let's take the cloud patient for itself. If you're allowed to have access to your healthcare information and are able to actually access it from anywhere in the world using a cloud platform, you're able to see any consultant, healthcare provider, and provide that access to that file, say with the shared key and whatnot. So it's a game changer. You give the power to the patient to share and control the data itself. If anybody remembers Apple's previous conference, they were able to link it with even the Apple Watch itself through cloud. So it's definitely going to be very interesting with the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay, thank you for that. And you touched on a few of you have touched on privacy and patients, the individual, and citizens. So Hala, how can organizations ensure they are equipped with appropriate identity management controls when they've got this hybrid cloud environment? What's your experience?
Okay. For this part, actually, to secure the identity, identity management, you need to implement some controls such as use a centralized identity access lifecycle management. You know, we are having two types, centralized and decentralized. For cloud, we are recommending to use the centralized identity access lifecycle management. It's very important. The second thing, you need to keep monitoring of the identities and who has access to our environment and what level of the access they are having. Also, you need to provide the identity based on the role-based, allow the users to access in the minimum level, let's say, of the access to be granted to the users that allow them to perform their tasks without having extra access for something else. You need to use a modern, let's say, authentication techniques to do the authentication and the multi-factor authentication to be used as well. Least privileged to be granted. We touched upon this thing. And the most important thing, that you need to use a unique identity, avoid using the shared identity. Some of organizations, let's say, they are providing the shared identity, like for privileged IDs, they allow different employees to use the same identity, which is not correct, because even let's say if you want to review the logs or something, you will not be able to identify which user was performing that unauthorized, let's say, a transaction. This is simply some of the controls that can be implemented to secure the identity management in the cloud environment.
Okay, thank you. Coming back to Adel, health organizations provide a patient clinic care. How can we relate cyber threats directly to patient care and public health?
Well, I'm not from the healthcare actually sector. I can try my best to answer, but maybe this question should be gone to our expert here on the healthcare. But regardless, as I said earlier about the maybe regulations and rules and laws, it's very important to understand it and to check is it allowed. Now, for example, about PII, personal identified information, how can we host it? And my colleague already said it must be encrypted, and encryption also, there are 3 levels: encryption in use, encryption at rest, encryption in transit, and encryption in processing. So on all these cases, I have to ensure. And now on the cloud, there are 2 main concepts. It is one of them is called bring your own key, or also keep your own key. Now, bring your own key, the keys will be with you, even it will be encrypted on the cloud, but the provider will not be able to access it. While keep your own key, you will keep them with the vendor or with the provider, but still also he will not be able to use it. And if he uses it, you will come to know. So based on your risk assessment and your criticality of your information in the cloud, you will decide. For sure, if you put more security, it will be more expensive, and it will also, we can say, as we know about security and accessibility, when you put more security, you will be more secure, but again, your accessibility will be affected and performance will be affected. So you have to compare between these things and decide.
And Hamad, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Well, he summarized, my colleague Adel summarized it in generality, but again, it depends on each region's healthcare laws that are in place. How rigid are the laws with regards to patient data and speed of delivering the service itself. So if it does hinder those 2, then definitely they're a barrier for cloud. But of course, with every challenge, there are ways of solving and coming up with innovative solution to address those.
Okay, thank you. So just sort of finishing off, Anthony, and changing slight tack, we've seen many changes that are required for people to learn new skills within the security team, and the organization of the security changes as you move into a cloud environment. What things have you seen from a sort of pre-pandemic to a post-pandemic?
Well, when we are talking about the pre or post-pandemic, of course, we are talking about big challenge for all enterprise or even small business, because people to change how they are working, how they are controlling or securing their workplace and working data. Here we are all my colleagues talking about the cloud and how they are securing our applications on the cloud. And many of big or small business had to move quickly to the cloud to overcome the lock off when it happened in the pandemic. Many people didn't prepare very well because it's happened fast. Now everything changed. People now is working from home. That's why the attacks itself changed from attacking the cloud itself, from attacking the service itself. Now I'm attacking by social engineering or phishing the weakest circle on our architecture, which is the employee itself. Now the employee can work in his home while he's in the lockdown with the same device that he's using for games or for socializing or for video. All the services can be many risk, which could risk our business itself. That's why yes.
Yeah, on you go.
That's why the teams had to change their methods and on securing the network on securing themselves from just securing our on-premise or our cloud solution, but also securing the employee itself and the home workers. The most thing is the awareness, because most of attacks now which are seeing is the phishing or social engineering attacks, which really can affect so much than any attacks now our environment. Also, I want this can be also added to your previous question to Mr. Hamad, because we are seeing this also in healthcare when you are dealing with the patients themselves, because most of attacks now social engineering, because all the healthcare application have the financial and very private data, which is a very, very, very important and very crucial for the patient itself. That's why number one and the biggest challenge really now is the awareness and how to secure the employee, even in a not very secured environment like being in home or being in, shared any place where it's shared network, not in our enterprise, which we all were able to control it very well in the previous.
So it sounds like a variety of different challenges: new network connections, new types of devices at the endpoint, distributed, so you don't know where they're coming in, so you can't control IP addresses, etc. So it's making your security team become much more precise about who's doing what, when, and where.
Exactly.
Sounds like a real challenge. Any last comments, thoughts, or anything that you want to share with our delegates? I'll start with Hamad.
Well, honestly, okay, let's just say cybersecurity has been in and out of focus for some time now, currently. Now, with the cloud and the AI and RPAs and how things are getting interconnected and how fast COVID has forced organizations to move to the cloud, I think cybersecurity should be the main thing that organizations should look at, from not only from the IT perspective, but also from all other departments, directorates that are embedded in the organization itself. It should be the key factor. I mean, you can have the best systems, but if your users or basically the organization itself is not cybersecurity aware, all that effort is for naught.
Okay, Abdulrahman, any last parting comments from you?
Just I need to do some brief conclusion. What's my opinion about the cloud from the cybersecurity perspective? I think first, if you use a cloud security strategy is a must. This is part from the cloud. Second, if you need to build the cloud security into the design of your cloud. Third, build a strong network infrastructure with all the security posture parameter that's needed. Encryption is the key step in the cybersecurity. Adopt zero trust security for the best protection. Finally, I need to mention about the cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. That's mean we need to improve the awareness for everyone sharing our information. This is what I need to add.
Oh, thank you for that. Anthony, any last parting comment?
As Mr. Adel, Mr. Abdulrahman talked about earlier, I want to say that going to the cloud is something that it should be already something now. We are not thinking about being in the cloud or not in the cloud. It's not even, we are 10 years back now. Now we are in the cloud. You have to prepare well. You have to plan. You have to plan what we will do, what we are doing, from not just from the perspective of architecture or of the software, but also from the security. Especially now we are seeing this after the pandemic, after all the digital transformation, especially in the healthcare. It's a very big and very huge challenge that we don't have time to delay anymore if you don't have already a plan and backup plan for it.
Okay, thank you for that. Halal, any last thoughts that you want to leave with our delegates?
Yeah, actually, before transforming to a cloud, you need to assess your need from the cloud and make sure for critical and core services to keep it in a private cloud. Don't put it in a shared cloud model. You need to look for all laws and regulations applicable for your country or your business and take it into consideration before you move to cloud. Involve your regulator sometimes. Let them understand what you are going, let's say, to move to the cloud. Don't forget to take or to check all the countermeasures that can be applied in order to move to the cloud securely. One important thing also, the configuration for the cloud, it should be assessed and evaluated and checked before, let's say, they go live and allow everyone to access the cloud, because the misconfiguration is one of the key issues, let's say, in the cloud environment.
And some really good points there, especially about the legislation and regulation, because if you're planning to host international customers, then it's not just about your local regulations, it's the international ones as well. And any final thoughts from yourself?
I have something maybe to say. Okay, if you ask this question maybe 10 years back, 15 years back, I will tell you maybe you have to convince top management about the cybersecurity. Today, it is not that way. I think most of top management, they are aware about importance. Now it is our turn and time to convince also to management that we are, as cybersecurity experts and management, we are empowering you as a business. And we have to ask ourselves always, why do we need cybersecurity? It is not just to secure. Security is not the ultimate objective. It is empowering business to adopt. Now, and for a new technology, not a cloud, I told you even before, if you go back to the internet, maybe to network, to data sharing, to database, now cloud, IoT, blockchain, tomorrow there are a lot of new technologies are coming. And as security, you have to think ahead. And even if there are no solution, we have to find solution for the business. We should not just be showstopper and say, no, it is not secure, don't go. No, we have to find, for example, antivirus is a solution for using endpoint. Firewall is a solution for using the internet. Think about any security. So we have to be innovative enough to empower. And another thing is very important. One word, I read one sentence, I don't remember it, but I would say the meaning. It says, and this is in the business, they are saying if you didn't start until you are 100% sure you are ready, then you have to know you are already late. You will not be ready 100% to adopt, but at least find existing controls. I told you, CASB is there, SAS is there, many security controls already there. Now it is about us how to convince management that implementing this solution will facilitate your adoption to the cloud, and at the same time, in the future, it will increase, let us say, your revenue, it will increase your security based on the vision and mission of the business. So as security expert, is really important. You have to be like the business must see you as a solver, not a problem creator. You have to solve the problems. You have to find enough solution so they can even depend on you for future projects, and you can lead with the management. Don't waste your time with the operation. Keep this with your other team to make the research, to find the solution. But for you, be with the top management because you are security leader. Be with them, check what is their vision, mission, and try to facilitate your job. If your team needs help, you can support them. If they need budget, you have to convince and give them budget. But don't waste your time with the operation and thinking too much. Start acting and stop thinking too much.
Or change the employee itself. It's easier, more easier.
I would like to thank all of you for your great insights. I think we've covered a huge range of elements of the security, cybersecurity, and cloud. I feel less frightened about moving to cloud as long as Anthony said you plan it, you think about it, and you migrate in a structured approach. So thank you all for your wisdom and insight.
Thank you, John. Thank you all
for having us.
Thank you.
What an insightful and thought-provoking our first panel discussion has turned out to be, correctly emphasizing the importance of cybersecurity more than anything else. International regulations, thinking ahead about solutions, and yes, cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility. And on that note, thanks John, Abdulrahman, Hala, Adel, Hamad, and Anthony for the extremely insightful and interactive panel discussion. I'm sure our audience would have captured a lot of key takeaways from your intellectual discussion and would have learned a lot from your impeccable knowledge on cybersecurity. Thanks again to each one of you for joining us today and for your efforts towards the BCC Summit, and have a nice day ahead, you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.